The air was thick with tension as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the opulent mansion. Zaid stood at the entrance, his heart pounding in his chest. He had always been a man of control, but tonight everything felt different. The blood was still on his hands, but he swore he hadn't planned this. So how did it come to this? He glanced at Layla, his lover, who stood beside him, her eyes wide with uncertainty. "Are you sure you want to do this?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rustling leaves. Zaid hesitated, the weight of his late wife's legacy pressing down on him. The will reading was supposed to be a formality, a chance to settle affairs after Amina's untimely death. But as Zaid looked at the ornate door, he felt a chill run down his spine. What secrets lay behind it? What truths would be revealed that could shatter the fragile world he had built with Layla? As the clock struck 7, a sudden noise echoed from within the mansion, a crash, followed by a muffled shout. Zaid's heart raced. What was happening? He turned to Layla, who was now gripping his arm tightly, her face pale. "We should leave," she urged, but Zaid shook his head. "No, I need to know," he replied, determination flooding his veins. Little did they know, this night would change everything. Zaid had once been a respected businessman known for his sharp mind and gentle demeanor. He had built his empire from the ground up, but the loss of Amina had left a void that no amount of wealth could fill. The mansion, once a symbol of their love, now felt like a prison, filled with memories that haunted him. As he stepped inside, the familiar scent of jasmine lingered in the air, a reminder of Amina's presence. The grand hall was adorned with portraits of their life together, each frame a testament to their love. But beneath the surface, Zaid felt a storm brewing. He had been trying to move on, to find solace in Layla's arms, but the guilt gnawed at him. Was it wrong to seek happiness so soon after Amina's death? The whispers of society echoed in his mind, reminding him of the expectations that came with his status. Layla, with her fiery spirit and unwavering support, had been his anchor. But even she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. As they made their way to the reading room, Zaid couldn't shake the sense of impending chaos. Little did they know, the will would reveal more than just Amina's final wishes. Secrets long buried were about to resurface, and the truth would shatter the fragile peace they had fought to maintain. The room was filled with family and friends, their faces a mix of sorrow and curiosity. Zaid took a deep breath, scanning the crowd. Among them was Salim, Amina's brother, whose eyes burned with resentment. Zaid had always felt a tension between them, a rivalry that simmered just below the surface. As the lawyer began to read Amina's will, Zaid's heart raced. "To my beloved husband, Zaid, I leave my share of the estate." The words echoed in his mind, but then came the twist that shattered everything he thought he knew. "And to my dear brother, Salim, I leave the family business." The room fell silent, the air thick with disbelief. Zaid's stomach dropped. How could Amina do this? Salim's lips curled into a smirk, and Zaid felt a surge of anger. "This isn't right," he shouted, his voice cutting through the tension. "Amina wouldn't have wanted this." But as he looked around, he saw the glances exchanged among the guests, whispers of betrayal and hidden motives. The photograph that had been passed around earlier, showing Amina with a mysterious man, shattered everything he thought he knew. Her smile wasn't just for him. It was a facade hiding secrets that would change their lives forever. The atmosphere in the room shifted dramatically. Zaid's heart raced as he faced Salim, whose smug expression only fueled his anger. "You think you can just waltz in here and take what's mine?" Zaid spat, his voice trembling with emotion. Salim leaned back in his chair, a glint of satisfaction in his eyes. "Your wife made her choice, Zaid. Perhaps you should have paid more attention to her while she was alive." The words cut deep, and Zayd felt the heat rise in his cheeks. Layla, sensing the tension, placed a hand on Zayd's arm. "Let's not do this here," she whispered urgently. But Zayd was beyond reason. The betrayal felt like a knife twisting in his gut. As the lawyer continued reading, Zayd's mind raced. What else had Amina hidden from him? The photograph flashed in his mind, a haunting reminder of the secrets that lay beneath the surface. He had to know the truth, and he had to confront Salim. "Enough," Zayd shouted, interrupting the proceedings. "I want to see that photograph, the one you've all been whispering about." The room fell silent, all eyes on him. Salim's expression shifted, a flicker of unease crossing his face. "What photograph?" he asked, feigning ignorance. But Zayd could see the cracks in his facade. The lawyer hesitated, glancing at Salim before nodding. "It's part of the evidence regarding Amina's estate." Zayd felt a surge of determination. "Then show it to us, now." As the lawyer retrieved the photograph, Zayd's pulse quickened. What would it reveal? Would it confirm his worst fears? When the image was finally placed in front of him, Zayd's breath caught in his throat. Amina stood smiling with a man Zayd had never seen before, their closeness suggesting a bond that went beyond friendship. The room buzzed with murmurs, and Zayd felt the walls closing in around him. "Who is he?" Zayd demanded, his voice low and dangerous. "What was Amina hiding from me?" The tension in the room reached a boiling point. Salim's smirk faded, replaced by a look of concern. "You don't want to know, Zayd," he warned, his voice barely above a whisper. But Zayd was relentless. "I deserve to know the truth," he shouted, his anger boiling over. The lawyer cleared his throat, trying to regain control of the situation. "This photograph was taken shortly before Amina's death. It raises questions about her loyalty and the circumstances surrounding her will." Zayd felt the ground shift beneath him. Everything he thought he knew about Amina was crumbling. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice trembling. Salim stepped forward, his expression serious. "Amina was involved in something dangerous, Zayd. She was trying to protect you from it." Zayd's mind raced. "Protect me? From what?" Salim hesitated, glancing at the guests who were now watching with rapt attention. "There are people who wanted to harm you. Amina was trying to keep you safe, but it cost her everything." The revelation hit Zayd like a punch to the gut. Everything he thought was true was a lie. Amina's love had been a shield, and he had been too blind to see it. "Why didn't she tell me?" Zayd whispered, his voice cracking. Salim shrugged, a hint of regret in his eyes. "She thought it was for the best. But now you're in danger too." Zayd felt a chill run down his spine. The stakes had never been higher, and he was caught in a web of deceit that threatened to consume him. Zayd's mind was racing, the weight of Salim's words pressing down on him like a heavy shroud. "In danger?" he echoed. Disbelief etched across his face. "What do you mean? Who would want to hurt me?" Salim's gaze darted around the room as if the walls themselves had ears. "There are people who believe you have something that belongs to them. Amina was involved in a business deal that went south, and she was trying to protect you from the fallout." Zayd felt a surge of panic. "What kind of deal? Why didn't she tell me?" The questions tumbled from his lips, each one more urgent than the last. "Because she loved you," Salim replied, his voice low. "She thought she could handle it on her own. But now it's too late." The room was thick with tension, and Zayd could feel the eyes of the guests boring into him, their whispers growing louder. He had to act fast. "We need to leave," he said, turning to Layla, who looked pale and shaken. "Now." But before they could make their escape, the door swung open, and a tall figure stepped inside. It was Khalid, Amina's former business partner, his expression dark and menacing. I see the family reunion is in full swing, he sneered, his eyes locking onto Zaid. But I think it's time for some truths to come to light. Zaid's heart raced. What do you want, Khalid? He demanded, trying to keep his voice steady. Khalid stepped closer, a predatory smile on his lips. I want what's rightfully mine. Amina's betrayal cost me everything. And now you're going to pay the price. Layla clutched Zaid's arm, fear evident in her eyes. We need to get out of here, she urged. But Zaid stood his ground, adrenaline coursing through him. No, he said, his voice firm. I'm not going to let you intimidate me. Amina may be gone, but I won't let her legacy be tarnished by your greed. Khalid laughed, a cold, chilling sound. You think you can stand against me? You have no idea what you're up against. Zaid felt a surge of determination. He had lost too much already. I won't back down, he declared, his voice rising. If you want to fight, then let's settle this once and for all. The tension in the room crackled like electricity, and Zaid knew that the confrontation was inevitable. He had to protect what was left of Amina's legacy, even if it meant facing the darkness head-on. The air was thick with tension as Zaid faced Khalid, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. The guests watched in silence, their eyes darting between the two men, sensing the impending storm. Zaid could feel his heart pounding in his chest, each beat echoing the stakes of the confrontation. Khalid stepped closer, his voice dripping with contempt. You think you can protect Amina's legacy? You're just a fool playing house with her memory. You have no idea what she was involved in. Zaid clenched his fists, anger boiling within him. You don't know anything about Amina. She was a good person, and she would never have wanted this. Khalid's expression darkened. Good? She was a businesswoman, Zaid. She made choices that put us all at risk, and now you're going to pay for her mistakes. With a sudden movement, Khalid lunged forward, grabbing Zaid by the collar. You think you can just walk away from this? You're in over your head. But Zaid was ready. He pushed Khalid away, his adrenaline surging. I won't let you intimidate me any longer, he shouted, his voice echoing in the grand hall. The room erupted into chaos as guests gasped and murmured, unsure of what would happen next. Layla stepped forward, her eyes fierce. Zaid, don't. This isn't worth it. But Zaid was fueled by a fire he hadn't felt in years. No, Layla. This is about more than just me. It's about Amina's memory and the truth that needs to come out. Khalid, realizing he was losing control of the situation, pulled out a small envelope from his jacket. You want the truth? Here it is, he sneered, tossing the envelope onto the table. Read it and see how deep the betrayal runs. Zaid's heart raced as he picked up the envelope, his hands trembling. He tore it open, revealing a series of documents and photographs that sent shockwaves through him. There were contracts, financial statements, and a photo of Amina with Khalid, their smiles suggesting a partnership that went far beyond business. This is what she was hiding from you, Khalid taunted, his voice low and menacing. She was in too deep, and now you're part of it. Zaid felt the ground shift beneath him as he scanned the documents. The truth was more devastating than he could have imagined. Amina had been involved in illegal dealings, and Khalid was right. Her choices had put them all at risk. Why didn't she tell me? Zaid whispered, his voice breaking. The betrayal cut deeper than any physical blow. Khalid stepped closer, a triumphant smile on his face. Because she knew you wouldn't understand. She was trying to protect you. But now it's too late. Zaid's mind raced, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. He had to confront this darkness, not just for himself, but for Amina's memory. You think this will break me? He said, his voice steady. You're wrong. I will fight for what's right, no matter the cost. The room was still buzzing with shock as Zaid stood there, the weight of the documents heavy in his hands. Khalid's triumphant smirk faded as he realized that Zaid wasn't backing down. The tension hung in the air like a thick fog, and the guests shifted uncomfortably, unsure of what would happen next. Zaid took a deep breath, his mind racing. "You think you can intimidate me with these lies? Amina may have made mistakes, but she was not a criminal. I will clear her name, and I will expose you for what you truly are." Khalid's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, Zaid saw a flicker of fear. "You don't know who you're dealing with, Zaid. I have connections, and I won't hesitate to use them." But Zaid stood firm, his resolve unshaken. "You can threaten me all you want, but I won't let you destroy Amina's legacy. I will fight back, and I will make sure the truth comes out." Layla stepped forward, her voice steady. "Zaid, we need to report this to the authorities. This isn't just about Amina anymore. It's about justice." Zaid nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "You're right. We can't let Khalid get away with this." He turned to Khalid, his voice low and fierce. "You may think you have the upper hand, but this isn't over. I will make sure everyone knows the truth." As Zaid and Layla prepared to leave, the guests began to murmur among themselves, the atmosphere shifting from shock to curiosity. The truth was out, and the fallout would be immense. Khalid's expression darkened, and he took a step forward, desperation creeping into his voice. "You think you can just walk away? You have no idea what I'm capable of." But Zaid didn't flinch. "I'm not afraid of you, Khalid. You've underestimated me for too long." With that, Zaid and Layla left the mansion, the weight of the world on their shoulders, but a newfound sense of purpose igniting their spirits. They had a battle ahead, but they were ready to face it together. The sun was rising as Zaid and Layla drove away from the mansion, the golden light spilling over the horizon like a promise of new beginnings. But the weight of the night's revelations hung heavily in the air. Zaid's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, Amina's secrets, Khalid's threats, and the uncertain path ahead. As they reached a quiet cafe, Zaid parked the car and turned to Layla, his heart filled with gratitude. "Thank you for standing by me," he said, his voice sincere. "I don't know what I would have done without you." Layla smiled softly, her eyes reflecting understanding. "We're in this together, Zaid. Amina may be gone, but her story isn't over. We owe it to her to find the truth." They entered the cafe, the aroma of fresh coffee enveloping them. As they sat down, Zaid pulled out the documents Khalid had thrown at him, spreading them across the table. "We need to go through these carefully. There has to be something here that can help us." As they sifted through the papers, Zaid's phone buzzed with a message. He glanced at the screen, his heart racing as he read the words. "I know what you're planning. You won't get away with this." It was from an unknown number, but the threat was clear. Layla noticed his expression change. "What is it?" she asked. Concern etched on her face. "It's a warning," Zaid replied, his voice steady despite the fear creeping in. "Khalid has eyes everywhere. But we can't let that stop us. We have to be smart about this." As they continued to strategize, Zaid felt a sense of clarity wash over him. He realized that this fight was not just about Amina's legacy. It was about standing up against corruption and injustice. In that moment, Zaid made a vow to himself. "I will not let fear dictate my actions. I will uncover the truth, no matter the cost." As they left the cafe, Zaid felt a renewed sense of purpose. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but he was ready to face them head-on. In the end, Zaid realized that freedom wasn't just about escaping the shadows of the past. It was about finding peace within himself. He looked at Layla, her unwavering support, a beacon of hope. "Together we can make a difference," he said, determination shining in his eyes. As they walked into the bright morning light, Zaid couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The battle for Amina's truth was far from over, and he was prepared to fight for it. But as they stepped outside, a black car pulled up, and Zaid's heart sank. He didn't know it yet, but the real danger was just beginning.